In our previous session, we have learned about the classes and its inheritance, right? This is the concept what we have learned. We have learned about the classes and its inheritance. Today in this session, what we will try to learn is, we'll try to learn about the getters and the setter properties. So why we will be using this getters and setters property. Let's try to see it. And also we have seen about the overriding the properties and also overriding the method. But add employee is present in the child class, but it is also present in the parent class also. We have seen it. So how we have overridden this method in the child class, we have also seen, and how we need to call this parent method, the method which is present in the parent class, how we can call this one using the super also, we have seen. So these are all one of the important concepts we need to understand. Now let's try to learn about the getters and the setter properties. For example, let's say that we are having an accounting department. Okay, let's say that we are having an accounting department. In this accounting department, we have a reports. We have already seen about this. I try to. Okay, so this is the accounting department. These are all the things which we have seen it. Now in the accounting department, we know that we have the reports. For example, let's say that. Here we are having this report, right? Let's say that I am having another report. Okay. So now there are two reports that has been added. If you go to the accounting department and if you try to see, okay, report 1 generated and report 2 generated. The two reports are there in this one. Now I want to have a scenario. I want to have a report. Right? So just I want to get something like accounting dot get most recent report, okay? Or otherwise get latest report or recent report. Let's make this recent report. Get most recent report. The recent report is nothing but report 2 generated. So this method I need to implement. So I need to get a most recent report. So what is the logic we'll implement? Normally the logic what we'll try to implement is, so what we have did, same scenario, we will go and we will try to write the method. Okay, so let's try to see here and let's try to implement this. Let's go into this one. Here is the accounting department, right? Yeah, so I will try to write here get most recent report. Okay, and here I can write in such a way that return this dot reports. I can take this one, this dot reports dot length -1. I can use it like this. Okay, so now whenever I want to use this one, so I will be calling this method so that I can get the outputs. Here if I try to see, it will be returning, and we need to do the console.log here. So let's do the console.log. If I try to see the output, here I'm able to see the most recent report. Now let's say that I want to have a property in a such a way that, for example, let's say that I can also access this one using a getters and the setter property. For example, let's say that instead of calling this method, I can have something like most recent report. Okay, that's it. So this is a property, and this property we need to get a most recent report. So normally what I can say here is, so here I can say something like, or let's say most recent report, okay, of type string, and I can access. So when I can get this most recent report, so whenever user is adding a report, so I can add this one, this dot most recent report is equal to, I will add this report. So whenever I want to print this most recent report, here I'm able to get an output. The same output you will be able to get. Report 2 is generated. So the same output we are able to get it. So here you will be able to see that most recent report you will be having this one. Now what I will try to do is okay, now what I will try to do is, here I will change in such a way that accounting dot most recent report equal to Leela. I have modified the most recent report. It is completely possible. Why? Because in our accounting department, this most recent report is a public property, and I can change it from here. Now if I try to get the most recent report, actually the most recent report is the report to generated. Why? Because this is the new report that has been added latest, but here I am modifying their fake report, so as a most recent report. Now if I try to see here, I am able to get the most recent report as Leela, but here the reports present are report 1 and the report 2, but there is no report with the name Leela. So that means I am modifying the most recent report, so it should not be possible. So now what I can do here, I can make this one as a private variable so that nobody can change it outside. So that means here I cannot change it, so this cannot be possible. But accessing this one is also not possible. Okay, accessing this one is also not possible. Why? Because as this one is a private variable, private property, I cannot access it outside. So here comes the getters and the second setters property. So using these getters and setters properties, we can implement. So for example, let's say that last report. Okay, last report. I will make a variable as last report. Now I want to access this most recent report. So what I can do here, so this is the last report. I can change this one to last report, and here I will arrange a getters and setters property in such a way that get most recent report. Okay, so get. So this one is a property, but this one will act as a here we are mentioning this one as a method, but this one will act as a property itself. Okay, so getter. So while we are trying to access this property, so what we need to do, we need to return. So here we can write a condition in such a way that if not of dot, we can have this one empty. So default one will be empty. If not of this dot last report, we don't have anything, so we can throw an error. So we can write some customized error, something like so report not present. Okay, or otherwise we can send the this dot last report. Okay, so this is the getter property. Now here we need to read. Okay, so we are reading. Now I can access this most recent property. Yeah, I can access this most recent property. Now if I try to see the output, so here you'll be able to see the report to generated. Okay, so now if anybody wants to set this one, so most recent report, okay, is equal to, so here one is a property, right? So we can do it whatever we want. The account dot most recent property, if I try to change it, okay, so this one will throw an error that we cannot assign because it is a read-only property. Okay, so why? Because we have assigned only as a getter thing. So if you want to set the most recent report also, we can use the setter property. Okay, so most recent report. Okay, and here I will try to add the value of type string. Here I can take this one. If not of value is not there, means report cannot be inserted. I can use the condition something like this. Okay, so reports cannot be inserted. And also what I can do is, so here if it is there, means then what I can do, this dot add report. Okay, so I can use like this dot add report, right? And I need to pass the value. That's it. So now what I am trying to do, so here when the user tries to add most recent report is something something means, so now this one will add into the report array, and also it will add into the report. So here this one will be called setter property will be called whenever you are trying to set a data to this property. Setter property will be called dot most recent report, and here this one will be called in turn this add report, so that it will be pushing into the reports array, and also it is assigning the last report. Try to see the output, the same thing, and here we will be able to, and also in this report we are able to see. Okay, like this we can use the getters and setters property in the classes. When we will be using the most of the time getters and setters, for example, now TypeScript, how well when we will be is whenever you are having a private property. Okay, whenever you are having a private property and this private property cannot be accessible outside, and if you want to set this property, okay, if you want to assign a value to this private property or get the value from this private property, we can it is not possible when we create an object. Why? Because it is a private property, it can be accessed only inside that class only. So now it is possible. So now what we can do is we can have a chance to create a getter property, so which will modify this private what I can say is private property, a private variable. It can change this one. So we can create a getters and setter property in such a way that, so we can add some conditions in a such way that, so what are the values to be entered, what are the values that are not to be entered. So we can write the conditions and we can adjust it according to our thing. So this is the main thing which we will be using most of the time, these getters and the setter properties. So these are the things you need to understand it. Okay, so getters and setter properties we will be using whenever we want to modify these private variables which cannot be accessed this outside thing. So in order to access the private variable, we will be giving the user an access to the getter and setter property in such a way that he can assign it, so that the setter property will be called whenever he wants to get a report. He will call like this, so that it will call the getter property. So this is the concept of this getter and the setter. Now we understood about this getters and the setter property. Now I will try to show you about the static method and the static property. To understand about the static method and the static property, let's try to create another file. Let's take this hide a ts. Okay, hide a ts, and it is in the watch mode. Okay, let's say that I am having a class person. Okay, so here you will be having a person. Let's say it's a class. Now I am using a method greet. So this one greet means always it will try to say console.log hello good morning. Okay, so this one always will take good morning. Now in order to access this greet, what I need to do, so I need to create a variable and I need to instantiate the class person. Okay, now I need to, for example, let's say that this one is having a constructor, and here it will take something like public name of type string. Okay, and also it will take public age of type number. Okay, so this is the two properties. Whenever I am trying to instantiate a person, so here I will need to pass the name and also the age. So now I will be calling person.greet. Okay, so this is the logic we will be doing. Now in order to call this method, I need to instantiate the person, I need to pass some data, and I need to greet it. So if I try to see this output, and if I try to see the output, yeah, here we are able to see hello good morning. So I'm able to see an output hello good morning. Fine, it's everything is fine. But now you need to understand that in order to say hello good morning, I need to create an object and also I need to send the data, so which I am not using anywhere. If I am using something like dot name, then it could be fine. So I need to pass a name. Okay, so now this could be okay. So hello good morning Leela, you will be able to get. That means that must and should you need to mention the name. But here I am not using anything. So generalized hello good morning I am using. So to tell hello good morning, I need to create an instance. Okay, I need to create an instance and I need to call the greet method through that instance. So this could be somewhat of 2 lines or 3 lines of code. So now this one is not using any properties or methods inside the functions, inside the class, and it is a standalone something like that. Instead of creating an object like this, so why can't we use directly this greet method? Okay, so why can't I directly use this person.greet? So I want to call this class inside person.greet. Instead of creating directly, I want to access this one. So it is possible. So what you need to do is you need to mention this one as a static. Okay, whenever you mention this one as a static, so there is no need for you to create an object and call this method. So you can directly call with a class name. Directly you can use this class name and you can call this method. Now if you try to see the output, so hello good morning, you'll be able to see the same output. Okay, but you need to understand that you cannot access this dot name and all those things, you cannot access it. Okay, you need to understand that this one also. So now another thing what I want you to do is try to access it. So here see, property name does not exist in the type of person, so I cannot use it, this one. So it's not showing error, I don't know why it is not showing, but you cannot access it, this one. Now not only the method, you can also have a property. For example, let's say the static financial year. Okay, financial year, let's say that this is a financial year. So this financial year is something like 2022. So this is the static value. So wherever I call, for example, let's say that let Leela is equal to new person. I am creating an object, so I am passing an age. Okay, and I will be passing a new person, and here I will be using John. Here also I will be passing some. Now if I want to use console.log, okay, here you can use a public, or otherwise if you don't mention also it will be what I am trying. For example, if I try to use console.log dot financial year, I'm using, and for John also I am using. So now what we have did here, we have created a blueprint for an object that is a person, and I am creating two persons with the name Leela and John. I am passing those details of the Leela and John, and I am trying to access the financial year. So what could be the financial year for Leela and what could be the financial year for John? So same thing only, 2020 to 2020. So the name, the thing will not change for this financial year. So for whatever the object you create, it will be always the same. Financial year will be always the same. So then why so you are accessing only the financial year? Then what is the need of accessing, creating an object, and through that object, what is the need for calling this financial? Whatever the object you create, it will be always be the same only. So for doing for this one, what you can do is you can also make this one as a static. So now static you can call directly using person.financial year. Okay, so there is no need to call this one. Now if you call the same thing, and then also you will get the same output 2022 only. Okay, so there is no need to create a function. For example, let's say that here I am having hi. Okay, and here I can do that console.log hi hello, and I will be using this dot name. Okay, here I am using this dot name. Now we should not mention this one as a static. Why? Because it is using the properties available in this one, this dot name. Now if I try to use this, I write person dot hi. So this one will not work. Okay, so this one will not work. Why? Because I cannot use the class name directly. Why? Because this is not a static this is not a static method. So now for instead of so in order to call this method, what we need to do is we need to create the instance. So here I need to create something like constant Leela is equal to new person of, so I can pass Leela and something like this, and I can call using this instance, I can call it without, there is no problem. And if you want to call this greet method, so you cannot call this Leela.greet, you cannot call this as Leela. Cannot call this one. Why? Because it is a static property, so it should be called only with the class name. So that is nothing but person.greet. You can use it like now. If I try to see the output, now you will be able to see the same output. So hello Leela, hello good morning. Okay, so now another one is, what I want to tell you is, I can use the static variable inside a static method, but not these public variables and all those things. So here I can use something like, you cannot use the this dot financial year. Okay, you cannot. So this dot financial year also we can use it. Why? Because this refers to the static thing. Normally what we will be trying to use is, so here we will be using person dot financial year. Okay, why? Because these are static methods. Here this refers to the object, that object, which object it has been created. But calling this greet method doesn't have any object. Because of that reason we will be using person. Now if you try to use here, so hello good morning 2022, we will be able to access it. Now here in this one also we will be able to access it. Person dot financial year. And also we can able to access it without any problem. Okay. So now in the static method, so for example, let's try to see, we will try to access the this dot name. Let's see what will happen. Okay. So this dot name. If you try to see the output, okay, so here you are able to get name means class name. You are trying to get the class name, so you are not able to get anything. You are trying to get the class name. If I try to access the age, okay, name means it is trying to refer the class. If I am trying to refer the age, now see, you are able to get an error that property age does not exist on the type of person. Now you cannot use the, so if I want to use something like person, okay, person dot age, you cannot access it. Why? Because in the static method you can access only the static properties, not the, these are all the properties that are available. Since properties you cannot access it. But whereas in this method, which is not having a static, so you can mention the, you can use the static methods. So you can use this dot financial year will not work in this one. Why? Because so it is does not refer to this object, so we need to use only the person. So like this. So you need to understand the difference, the minute difference between those two. So here also you cannot use the this dot age, but here you can use the this dot financial year, so it's not a problem. This refers to the, to this class, so this refers to this class, and you can use this. So that means you can refer this one using the static property. Now here this one also will work, not a problem. So here this also works, not a problem. But normally we will be using with the class name. Why? Because in order to not get confused, we will be using person. Here the, in the static, that this refers to a different thing, and here this refers to the instance. So that is the thing I want to explain. This is the, this is all about the static properties and the static method. So the one of the important thing you need to understand, when we need to use a static method and when we need to use the static property, normal property, that's the things where how we can use the static method, we need to understand. Yeah, you cannot call it. So so if you call like this, something like greet, so which greet you are calling? So you need to tell the class name. So this greet is present in this class, you need to mention that directly like this, so that this one will become something like outside greet. So you need to mention it as a global thing, the outside greet. So you need to mention it like this. So this one, this grid belongs to this one, not this grid. Okay. Here you need to call something like person.grid. This static class, the static method belongs to this. Now the last one, what I want to explain you is the abstract classes. So abstract class, what is this abstract class? For example, let's go to this main.ts itself. So we are having a department. Okay, we are having an accounting department, and we are also having an IT department. Let's say now I want to have a method. Say that I want to have a, let's say that I will be having a method in such a way that describe. Okay, so describe one will be telling you console.log department is dot department name something, right? So I want to know the department. So this will describe the department. What is the department it will belongs to? The accounting department. So I want to know. So here I can go here something like this and all those things, and I want that accounting dot describe this one. So I will be calling this describe. Now here if you try to go into the output, so let's go, let's try to convert this main. And if you go here, if I want to see this accounting, stop .ts. Okay, so let's try to go to the main.ts. So here I am using accounting.describe. So now if I try to see the output, here department is accounting. It is trying to show me that when I want to see about this describe, see this accounting, I'm able to see it. The same scenario, I want to know about this IT department also. IT department dot describe. I want to describe this method. So I want to see this. What I want to see, what I want to see about this object. That means what I want is IT department. I want to know about this object details. So now if I try to see here, I'm getting an error that IT department describe is not a function. So that means in IT department, so we don't have a describe method. Okay, so where is this describe? So we don't have this describe method. So here I need to mention it. Okay. So now I will be having a situation that whenever you are creating a department that extends a department, must and should there should be a describe method. So I want to make it sure that it should have a describe method. That means when tomorrow any other guy creating another department, HR department, and he is extending department means, so he should must and should, so whatever the properties he will implement, I don't want, but he should have a describe method. Why? Because this describe method is the compulsory, we need to use it in the whoever is extending the department. So this method should be implemented, must and should. So now what I can say, so here if this guy implements or it does not implement also, it is not showing any error, right? So but here we have used this department is something like this, and it is able to see and we are able to see the apartment output as department is 80. This is fine. But here how can we so insist the user or developer must and should implement this describe method whenever you are extending a department? So how we can compulsorily make a developer to implement this method? So for this one, what we can see is, so this is the department method, right? So this is the method which all the people will be extending, and we can create a method here, abstract, okay, abstract method, and I can write describe. Okay, so there will be no implementation for this one. This implementation, this describe method implementation will be implemented by the classes which extends this department. That means accounting department, these all guys has to implement, not this guy. So it is telling that abstract of describe. So whenever you mention an abstract method for this one, must and should you need to have an abstract class. Here also this should be an abstract. Okay. Now here if you try to see IT department, so now here let's try to remove this describe, then you'll understand. I have removed this describe thing. So now let's say I will try to remove this describe, and also in this one also I will try to remove this describe. So that means now this is the department, and this accounting department is extending the department, and now we are able to see an error. So accounting department does not implement the describe method. So must and should you need to implement a describe method. Now we are making the user compulsory, not the user, developer compulsory, that whenever you are extending a department, must and should you need to mention the describe method. So the describe method should be implemented. So here you can write something like the describe already copied. You need to mention this describe. The same scenario, IT department is also throwing an error that must and should you need to have a describe method. So tomorrow, so this is our accounting department. Let's our IT department. Tomorrow another guy comes here. So he will try to use an HR department. Okay. So whatever the methods he want to implement, so he can implement extends department. Whenever he creates an HR department, extends department, now you will get an error that you must create a describe method. So then only you can go for anything. Now I can do describe method here, and I can do the console.log. So here you can use this department name, and the same thing you will be having something like constructor. Okay, you have this constructor, and here I can pass HR, okay, and HR. So now whatever the classes which is extending the department, these all three classes has the describe method.
Here's something I found on the web.
Alexa, stop. So here some must and should, it will be having the method describe is implemented in all the classes. Now if you try to create, so I can with trust I can implement this describe method without any problem. Now I am sure that this describe property will be present in all the objects which extends this department. Now if I try to create an HR department here, so let HR, whatever the methods exist or not exist, so this describe method will be existing, so I can have it without any problem. So describe HR department, I can have this HR department, okay, and this HR department I can use this. So HR department, and I can use this without any problem. Dot describe method. So this describe method will be there. So whatever the methods is there or not, I don't want, but I know that this describe method compulsory it will be present. Why? Because it is an abstract class and it has to implement it. The department is HR. I am able to get the output. So this is all about the abstract classes and abstract method. So whichever is having an abstract method, it should implement the abstract class. So abstract keyword should be there before this class, and whoever is having the abstract methods, okay, and whoever is extending this abstract class has to implement all the abstract methods that are present here. So you can have more than another abstract method also. So here you can have abstract hello method also. So now immediately these three will get an error that you need to mention, you need to use, you need to implement this hello method. So here if you hover here, so member hello, you need to implement it, it is saying. And you can also mention the return type. So it should have a return type of string. And here if I try to say that it should have a return type of string, again the error will come. Why? Because so it should have an, so now this describe method should return a string. Here you will be able to see the describe method, it is getting an error that, so this one is not returning anything, must and should it should return a string thing. So like this you can mention it. So this is all about the abstract classes and the abstract methods. In this session, what we have learned today, we have learned about the getters and the setter properties. So that is one of the important concepts. Here we have learned about the getters and the setter properties, and we have learned about the static methods and the static properties also. Static method and static property, how to access these things. So this is also one of the important thing. And the last one is abstract classes. Okay, abstract class and abstract method. Okay, abstract class and the abstract method. So these are the three things that we have learned. So next one comes is the interfaces. This is also one of the important concept you need to learn. And the other one is the generics. Okay. So tomorrow's session I will tell you about the interface. I don't want to confuse you so more and more. So try to practice these things, then only you will understand. Okay. So these are one of the important things. Tomorrow you will learn about the interfaces concept, how the interfaces will be implemented, all those things. Tomorrow's session we will try to see.